and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. The trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday, and previewing and reviewing the latest shows on WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., alongside Kaliko Yachts.
I mean, I may have to give you a shout out for that because you do that be in like one breath, and it sounds like Twister rapping sometimes. So I gotta give you some props on them. I give you your flowers while it's there.
Gotta get the shit in. And it was a good week for Wrestling Wit as we interviewed Mick Vanula last Tuesday and Pumi on Wednesday. Two incredible and unique interviews from two different parts of the world, obviously. Can't recommend them enough. Definitely go into archives and check those out when you have a chance. This upcoming Tuesday, we have Balyan Aki, a pro wrestler from India that's currently wrestling in Japan for Choco Pro and Gato Move. Has a relationship with Amy Sakura. In a tag team with Mai Segura, and we talk about that. He's had a match with Minoru Suzuki. A lot of great content from Aki. You definitely don't want to miss that one. And then on the 9th, we have Kuya Born, our first ever interview from Dubai. And before you ask, yes, there is a wrestling promotion in Dubai. Kuya works for that company. We talk about that, wrestling in Dubai. Trying to wrestle in his home country of the Philippines, which has been quite a challenge. He's also in a band with his wife. We talk about that. We talk about Chicken Joy from Jubilee as well. So a lot of great content in that one as well. Cannot recommend it enough. Definitely check them out when they drop this Tuesday and Wednesday. But don't take my word for it. Here's some clips now.
Right now. And when I'm rich and more successful, and a lot of people who I love might end up thinking that he's an asshole now, which I will try my best to not let them think that way. But if I ever do get to that point, it will be my arrogant song will be "I Did It My Way."
I mean, that's a good one.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you are at that point and being arrogant, that is a good one. But I will think about that, the first one, like my gritty and dirty part. I think.
What?
Yeah.
I feel like if you do get to that arrogant phase, may not allow you to. She might chop you down before you get higher.
That's what I'm saying. It will be hard.
Right.
It will be very hard for me to get to that place. But I'll try my best to get there.
In Dubai. So I went here. To my surprise, there was a wrestling promotion here, Wrestling Academy and promotion. No, actually, just Wrestling Academy, called Dubai Pro Wrestling, and then that's where I started training pro wrestling in 2018.
Okay, so you haven't, you've only wrestled in Dubai.
Yes, only in Dubai for now. It's quite ironic, I think, because I think my first upcoming international booking will be in my home country in the Philippines. I'd be a foreigner in my own land.
Alright, and then on the 15th we have Johnny McMetal. On the 16th, Dylan Broda. On the 22nd, Jake Lupa. On the 23rd, Remy. On the 28th, Lord Philip Risen. On the 29th, Pixel. On the 30th, Anarchid Ass. And on November 5th, Shamika. So, lots of lots of things to look forward to in the coming month, and a little bit preview of November as well. All right, I think we're done putting ourselves over. No, Kaliko?
We're always over. Even if we don't put ourselves over, we're over.
Hell yeah. It was not a great week for wrestling, as we are wrestling with the news. Um, Sadly, baseball legend Pete Rose has sadly passed away. While many know him for his exploits in baseball, pro wrestling fans primarily know him for his time um, giving the crowd in Boston um, a lot of shit that also played into Kane tombstoning him, becoming a WrestleMania moment that would last forever. Um, Obviously, we're not into baseball, but can you tell us what your thoughts on the passing of Pete Rose, Kaliko?
I mean, I followed baseball a bit. I mean, don't sell me short. But I mean, but he was Charlie Hustle. He did win a World Series with the Reds. He was one of those all-time great players that his own doing kept him from the Hall of Fame, which the Baseball Hall of Fame anyway, which gambling and so on and so forth. And it's just a shame. I mean, it's been a crazy week, man. Because I mean, not even related, but John Amos died, and Mufasa, the voice of Vader, died. It's just been some. I'm like, it's like fly dropping season around here. And Dikembe Mutombo dies. I'm like, what the hell? Like, it's just crazy right now. But to keep it on the wrestling note, Pete Rose, of course, WWE, he's known, cemented with taking a tombstone from Kane. I must say, hey, you can't get better than that. 12-year-old me watching that happen was like, oh, hell no. So hey, the 40-year-old me is like, man, he took it like a G. So, I mean, there's nothing much. I mean, he was a lot of people's favorite baseball player. Still has the record for most hits in MLB history, which I don't think will ever get broken, which is crazy to say. It just sucks that, like I said, it's just boom. And this was the same day Mutombo died, which was crazy because it was like two heavy hitters in like hours apart, which is nuts. But for the wrestling aspect of Pete Rose, he did make his cameo, but the cameo was one very memorable one. I'm trying to recall if he made the WWE Hall of Fame.
That's what I was just going to mention. He may have not been in the NFL, the
MLB.
MLB Hall of Fame, but he is the WWE Hall of Fame. I believe class of 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he was he was actually the first ever celebrity to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, which sprung lots of more celebrities in the years to follow after that as well. So
yeah, Drew Carey, Snoop,
and I mean they did a lot less than Pete Rose did at that point. I mean, and Pete Rose, I mean, you gotta give it to him at a time when celebrities just kind of was a part of WWE just to kind of be a part of WWE. It was like, alright, I'll do this. He was a good sport. I mean, he understood, like you like to say, he understood the assignment. Get the people,
oh yeah,
get the people to hate you, eat your tombstone, and get out. And we talk about the WrestleMania 14 spot. He would go on to WrestleMania 15 and take another. He took a choke slam from Kane in Philadelphia, and then in WrestleMania 16, better known as 2000, he took a Sting Feast from Rikishi. So, I mean, it's a little, saga that maybe isn't talked about as much as, the other rivalries, because there technically was no match between Pete Rose and Kane. But it still went 3 WrestleManias of, rivalry between the two of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the beef we didn't know we had. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Right.
Yeah, it almost was like a recurring theme every year. It was just like, damn.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now that you put it that way, yeah, the beef we didn't know we had.
And there was a commercial for, I want to say No Mercy, that featured Pete Rose and Kane again. So, I mean, he was very much accepted into the pro wrestling world. He took his bumps, and I can't imagine that he wasn't respected by, the pro wrestling fans.
I mean, yeah, because he came in, like we said, he understood the assignment. He did his thing and dipped the hell on up. I mean, as a celebrity, that's all you can do. And we've had celebrities where, not fully committed. You know what I mean? So he was definitely one of the ones in the fully committed category.
I mean, Jonah Hill didn't even get on screen.
I'm trying to think, who would be the Mount Rushmore of WWE celebrity? Bad Bunny's on it. He's on it, but
yeah, I would get that.
He's an automatic. Now the question is, we gotta think that through. Mount Rushmore of WWE celebrity wings, and I'm thinking, would the criteria be a match? Did they have to participate in a match? Because then Bad Bunny, Lawrence Taylor. I'm trying to think who else.
I mean, I feel like Bob Barker made a bigger impact than Lawrence Taylor did.
What? Lawrence Taylor made a bit at WrestleMania. What are you talking about, sir?
And literally nobody talks about that WrestleMania.
No one does. But the fact that it happened, right?
I guess.
I mean, Pete would have a reason to be up there.
I feel like Pete Rose would definitely need to be up there. Everything that he did, and being the first celebrity in the Hall of Fame, it would make sense to me.
So Pete Rose, Bad Bunny. I'm trying to think. I mean,
as we continue this segment.
Oh, what's the dude? Arrow. That guy.
Oh, Stephen Amell.
Yeah. He might be there. He had a match with Cody.
Yeah. And Chris Daniels, I think he had a match with as well.
See, I'm telling you, man. We got some. You know what? That's another episode, fans. We got ourselves in.
That's what we have to do. All right. And of course, our condolences, thoughts and prayers to the family of Pete Rose. Our condolences to AEW fans as AEW decided to Warner Brothers decided to renew their deal with AEW for 3 years.
What?
I believe it's
why.
It's 185 million. I think I saw the number was. Um, it's a big deal. It's a great deal. It's the biggest deal. It's the biggest deal in pro wrestling history. It was great. They they made a wall. Um, but yeah, it's we're going
You
to
don't
see
sound too happy.
the AEW on Warner Brothers TV for the next 3 years, possibly 4. Um, and Max is a part of the deal as well. With live streaming during the event starting in January. That is for Dynamite and Collision, and it says a discount on paid previews. I'm not exactly sure what that means at this point. Um, but it sounds like Tony Khan got exactly what he wanted, right?
It sounds. I mean, it seems like it, but then again, he picked the right time because it, it's not what you deserve; it's how you negotiate what you can negotiate. And at that point, he had the argument that they would be the highest drawing live television show on TBS and TNT because we already and I've been and people may not know it, but I've been ad nauseum about the fact that Inside the NBA is no longer going to be there. So
Right.
with Inside the NBA no longer going to be there, and this season coming up to being the final season, it actually gave AEW more leverage.
One thing I found interesting, because I more or less read what was said, technical jargon notwithstanding, there was no mention of Rampage, which kind of begs the question: did Rampage get canceled?
Rampage on YouTube TV. There you go.
No, it's pretty much it was on TNT, but now it's not on nothing really.
I mean, but it it really don't they really don't need it
I mean, it kind of
because
feels like they were
they
pushing it
do.
with it at that.
I mean, they do Collision in well shit. The last time I went to a show, they did Collision and it's Collision and Dynamite all the same night. They do Dynamite live and they tape the Collision prior.
Well, Dynamite is on Wednesdays, and Collisions
Mm-hmm.
is on Saturdays. They would
Mm-hmm.
usually primarily tape Rampage either before or after um, Dynamite, and then Collision either before or after the event. You would get Ring of Honor TV. Uh, I don't know what happens to that extra hour on Wednesday, or if, like you said, are they combining Collision and Dynamite together? Or that it's just one. You have a week of TV recorded in a day, but then you have what happens to Ring of Honor, and if they do Ring of Honor, then that's 5 hours of pro wrestling you're getting in a single day. Watching, uh, buying a Ring of Honor, a AEW ticket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I feel like
Oh
that's a
yeah. I
lot.
mean, but that's a lot. Like even at that's a lot of taping and one practice. They might as well just do house shows. Shit. Like fuck and just tape them at house shows.
I mean, the house shows didn't necessarily do too well. The ones that they tried to do.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think they sold less than normal Dynamite tapings. and keep in mind the main event was Darby Allin teaming with Orange Cassidy. So take what you will off
Take
of that.
what you will, yeah. Proceed with your own caution on that one.
Right. You know,
Yeah, I mean, but it's good.
Continue what you were saying.
I was gonna say, honestly, when as much shit as you give them, I mean, I try to give them a little bit of benefit. It's good for them because they, as much as you may not like, the alternative is there, and honestly, it's another alternative for people who may not even see WWE to get the bread that they feel they deserve. So, shit, for all the botches and lack of storytelling and spot fest we call it, it's needed.
You know, like you said, we do give them a lot of grief, AEW, but this is a positive story coming out for them, which they don't get a lot of positive press, especially maybe not in this last year or so. So you know, if it's a W, it's a W for them. You know, hopefully that leads to them actually doing something with the content they're that they're now given. But you know that remains to be seen. I haven't watched AEW in quite some time. But I but I will say that there is now that it's going to be streamed on Max. There's a slightly higher degree chance that I will watch AEW for that simple fact.
That it's on Max.
Yeah. So, you know,
Really, Max is the breaking point for you?
I don't have cable anymore, so I would have to go WWE.
No.
I would have to go out of my way to see WWE, and I do go
No
out
one
of my
has
way
cable.
to see WWE because I like WWE. I'm not exactly gonna go out of my way to see AEW because I don't necessarily like the brand. If you just
Well,
click a button and it's on, then you know I'd be more inclined of just watching it.
I feel that, but I think no one has cable anymore except senior citizens. But because nothing is I mean, what is cable at this point? I mean, cable is just piecemealing a bunch of fucking bundle packages together, and prime example, I guess it's more of a hassle to you. It's not a hassle. I have YouTube TV, so it's not really a hassle because I get it both ways. If they're on Max, I could just add Max to my YouTube TV and call it a day. Um,
You should still be able to get it on YouTube TV. It's still going to be on TBS and TNT. They're just
yeah, but I'm just saying, if they have pay-per-views on Max, it would be easier to add it to the YouTube. All of this stuff is just, it's what's that word? Symbiotic. It's the cable. Everybody thought it was better to just piecemeal all these channels, and then it became the Wild Wild West because people didn't just realize, oh shit, people actually television stations actually own a lot of this shit. Like we did not know what we were doing. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like shit. So I mean, but it's gonna be interesting because heading into the new year, pro wrestling is going to be on Netflix and HBO Max, which who had that on the bingo card?
Yeah, very much so. But I think that's a win for them.
Interesting.
You know, HBO Max, one of the big kahunas in this race.
That is a big win because shit, I was fucking like, how? Because HBO don't even have a sports division.
I mean,
that's why I was like, what the fuck?
but I mean, if you're, they just announced like not too long ago, a whole Disney, Hulu, and Max bundle. So you get, or if you have Disney Plus and Hulu, you could get that bundle with Max as well for like a couple of dollars more. So
Mm.
people are good. It's going to be more um, accessible for people. Well, Peacock is kind of all by its lonesome at this point.
Yeah, Peacock is by itself. It is literally, it's on a fucking island. But Peacock has the thing a lot of other people don't, which is like subscription tiers. Max, you gotta be all in. Peacock, you can kind of tier it.
True. Um, I don't accept. I didn't necessarily look into it or read into it. Maybe you know a little bit more on this information, but like I said, paid previews will be on Max for a discounted price. I didn't exactly know what that meant.
Okay, I know what that means. It's like it's the ESPN formula. So for those who know UFC, so UFC has their monthly pay-per-views, right? And usually the only way you can even watch the UFC fights at home is through the ESPN app. But the problem is you have to go through the ESPN app, go to the UFC, and purchase the actual pay-per-view itself. So that's essentially what you're going to do. So that's what I'm saying. So it's pretty much that formula. So let's say like Wrestle Dream's coming up. Let's just put it because it's coming up soon.
Yep.
So let's say they were on HBO Max. You would have to go through HBO Max and purchase the pay-per-view through HBO Max. It's like a firewall through a firewall, basically. Because you're already paying for the subscription for ESPN, and then you have to, never mind, not ESPN. You're already paying a subscription for HBO Max, but now you have to pay another set of dollars for the pay-per-view, if that makes sense.
No, I understand what you're getting at.
So let's say an AEW pay-per-view runs what, like $50?
Yeah.
Yep. It runs about $50. So let's say HBO Max, you're paying $10. So
would it be that
you already have they'll give it to you at a discounted rate. So let's say $40, right?
So you get a
because it would make
discount.
Bro, it is brutal. UFC. I'm gonna tell you right now, UFC fights on HD is $79 easy, and they try to give you these ESPN Plus because it's like if you subscribe to ESPN Plus, you get the UFC fight for a discounted rate of $59 or some shit like that. Like, it is brutal. When I say it's brutal because right now AEW you could watch it through Bleacher Report, right? But at least you knew, or various, like Fight TV, Bleacher, you could watch it through various avenues, right?
What?
So now that HBO Max is going to be the home of it, you have to, the only way you can get through it is through HBO Max. Unless you can, ghetto rig it, which I know we have some people that could do that. Hey, good on y'all. But, but for the majority of people who don't want to go through that hassle, and that could be a deterrent. I mean, because most people probably be like, I got HBO Max. I don't feel like paying another $40 for a pay-per-view, especially a casual fan. I could go watch it at a bar for the $10 cover and call it a day.
Right.
I mean, so it's one of those things where it's like, the people who are dedicated,
which is getting
to
smaller and smaller as we progress.
is going to do it, is that going to make, and that's the problem too, because AEW is doing that where, I mean, most people are going to say their audience is not as large, because like UFC, at least they had an app, like, and the only problem is in the United States, this is an issue. So that's where I have another thing too, because I'm like, okay, is this HBO Max thing only a US thing or a global thing? Because even though you have the US, like in the US, you have to go through the ESPN app. If you're overseas, they have the UFC app.
Okay.
Two totally different streams. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, like, how is that going to work overseas? Because, I mean, not everybody's trying to get access to HBO Max like that. Is it still going to? So there's a workaround to it. It's just, you know, people probably going to change their VPNs and, you know, y'all, internet, you know what you do. You do your work, and I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to dry snitch, but do the voodoo that you do.
Yeah, and that's definitely all things we need to cover up once that information becomes available to us. I'm just kind of still reeling from the fact that UFC charges you extra for higher definition.
For the pay-per-view, yeah. It's always been a thing. That was the biggest frustration, because at least when you had it's like if the WWE app, you remember the WWE app?
Yeah.
It's like if you had the WWE app and they charged you $9.99 and you still had to pay $30 for the pay-per-view.
Right. But no, you said that
you
have to pay extra for a higher definition for HD.
Right.
That's insane.
But I mean,
like,
the HD is different than a whole. Paying more for HD because you got a 4K TV is way different than, like, okay, I'm gonna charge you $10 a month, and then every pay-per-view we're charging you $30. So that's a whole $40 a month every.
Yeah.
You know, and most people ain't go for that.
Well, like we said, Rampage. I don't think anybody's crying that Rampage is going to no longer be a part of AEW's lineup. But there is a rumor and innuendo that we're getting a new TV show from AEW called Sharkwave that will be on Fox TV or the Fox network or something related to Fox.
I mean, what in the Transformers are they doing? Like, Shockwave?
It's kind of weird that they would put they would start negotiating with Fox to put AEW on Fox for the simple fact that Tony Khan didn't want to deal with anybody but Warner Brothers. And, you know, we'll talk about NXT in a little bit. You know, they just started on CW. That was originally before the whole NWA cocaine thing. That was gonna be AEW. They were going to have Ring of Honor TV on the CW network, and Tony Khan didn't want to put Ring of Honor on CW because it wasn't a Warner Brothers channel, and that he wanted everything to be Warner Brothers. Is this?
I mean, I give him props for that, because at least he's trying to keep it synced. Because WWE, remember, it's like, man, you had to go to Fox, and then you had to go to they were serving two masters, and at that point, especially when you're doing two separate shows with two different networks, and one network wants you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is preferring other talent over the other, it can get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's sad. It can get a little chaotic. So I give him props for at least going, you know what, we're just gonna stay with one area and just keep it clean, if you will. Because let's say they're sticking with all the Warner Brothers channels, at least they can go, hey, we want more Adam Cole on this show. Okay, cool. We'll just give you Adam Cole. Rather than going, yeah, like right now, USA SmackDown, Netflix is like, yeah, we want Roman.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that is a problem. I mean, not saying it's a problem for Roman, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it kind of pushes it to where it's like, okay, is that eventually going to be where it's just one show, one championship, or we're just going to keep it 2 shows? At least with Tony Khan, it's 2 different shows, but everything can be interchangeable. The parts can be interchangeable.
I mean, true, but
And it's not drastically killing the product.
it doesn't seem like it's going to. Just from what we know about AEW, I don't feel like it would be its own separate show. They tried that and it failed miserably 2 times. I wouldn't have necessarily said no to a Ring of Honor show. Actually get Athena on, TV again, rather than banishing her to the Isle of Misfit Toys. But if it's just a Rampage alternative, I don't see why would Fox want that? And considering that they didn't make another deal with WWE, which with millions of dollars, possibly billions, why would they give why would they go so cheap with AEW content that's not doing a quarter of what WWE did for them? You know what I mean?
Because, but AEW is still trying to get his name up. WWE sold it to the fact that they are the Apple of wrestling. That's
right.
Basically what it was, and that's essentially what it was. It was that deal was more of a branding deal. I mean, to be quite honest, it was a branding deal.
Hmm. Well,
And it started out sluggish. As a matter of fact, that was funny, and I'm sidetracking it here. I got the reminder of the first SmackDown in LA. The little remember photos that we went to SmackDown, the first SmackDown.
that's right. That was a good time.
Kofi just fucked my boy. Anyways,
I'm literally looking at the chair from that event right now as we talk.
So, it was, but that was a branding deal. And plus the return on investment was supposedly higher. It needed to be higher. You see what I'm saying? They can easily invest a little bit into AEW because the return on investment, let's say they put in 100 mil just for shits and giggles. If they get 200 mil, shit, they're good. Rather than putting in $1 billion and being at a net loss.
Well, it would be interesting to see what they do if they do get a deal with Fox. It just seems out of character because it seemed like Tony was dead set that it was Warner Brothers, nothing but Warner Brothers. And now it's, well, Fox wants to play, so let's play.
But Fox is also a channel that everyone in America has. A basic channel everyone has in America.
Well, so is the CW.
As much as people... You say what?
So is the CW. And they passed on CW.
But more people are more... okay. When people are watching the news, they're more likely to go to Fox than CW. CW ain't got shit. Except reruns of Charmed or some shit.
But, if you have to pass CW, the channel, in order to get to Fox... if this is just a normal TV we're talking about.
That's in California. That's not all the cases.
Okay.
Because Fox here in San Diego is Fox 5.
It's CW is 5.
Yeah, see, so that's what I'm saying. It's city to city differ. City to city it differs, but Fox is a basic channel that a lot of people actually watch. If not for The Simpsons, if not for the one of their biggest draws, which is football, college football, regular football, college football, NFL, those crazy shows that they always try to do at basic level local news.
All right. Well, like I said, it just kind of seems like out of character for Tony Khan, which is saying something because the guy loves his cocaine and strippers. Um,
I mean, I like coke and strippers too.
um, but it seems like he's maybe compromising his moral compass, which makes me wonder what changes are we going to see in AEW with of maybe a Fox deal or just going forward with Warner Brothers. We don't know what's technically, the written deal rules of that deal as well.
I mean, maybe he's trying to push Rampage on Fox. I don't know. Shit. Rampage,
Well,
followed by Love Island.
we're going
Shit.
from AEW to WWE. Elimination Chamber will be in the UK this year. It's specifically England. Pretty on course, pretty on par with current WWE. No,
I know. There goes their Mania dreams.
I mean Mania is already in Vegas next year, so I mean it's
That's
not
my
like
point. They
it's not
ain't
like they
getting
know.
that
Oh,
shit. It's gonna be a while before they get that shit, boy. It's gonna be a while. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, but shit. The fact that SummerSlam's in Jersey, that tells you like all this shit. They like, yeah, buddy. We good. we good.
no. NXT made their debut on the CW earlier this week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they were really trying to commit to getting to surpassing the 1 million mark in viewership. They did an 895,000. Tried to break 1 million, didn't necessarily do it. It's still an impressive number, but I don't remember NXT ever breaking 1 million, or I could be wrong about that.
I'm trying to think. Um, it says the premiere peaked at 965. It averaged 895, peaked at 9. I'm trying to think. What was the biggest NXT viewership? Because if it didn't happen during the Gargano years, I mean, it would be interesting.
I mean, there was a couple of spots that could have really popped off. But also,
Here we go.
but also
We
keep
got
in
you.
mind NXT
We
was
got you,
on.
fam.
Keep in mind
We
NXT
got you,
was
fam.
on WWE Network.
Here you
for a
go.
while.
September 18th, 2019, 1.1 million viewers. September 25th, 1.06. So they started, and I think that's probably when it first started on USA. When it went from the network to USA.
Did you say November 19th?
September 18th.
September 18th. Okay, so Adam
2019.
Cole, I'm pretty sure Adam Cole was the champion, no?
2018? Actually, no. I believe that was Aleister Black, sir.
Well, no. Well, I'm trying to. I think what I was getting going at was that that wasn't 2019 the Survivor Series that they involved NXT.
You
at
are
one point?
right, Adam Cole. You called it, motherfucker.
Yeah. So Adam Cole was on WWE TV at that time. I think he took W on
Oh, you were right.
Daniel Bryan. So I'm just so it would have made sense if they hit the 1 million mark in November when all of that shit happened. I'm just wondering what the
Well,
fuck.
September.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What the fuck happened in September that got people saying we need to see this?
I'm thinking it first went to, because remember, I think this was the first time it moved to the network. It left the WWE app and went to USA.
Okay. Well, that would probably make sense.
Because it went from a paid firewall to being its own brand.
Right, and they were in the I believe that was on a Wednesday as well, because they were in the midst of the Wednesday night wars with
Wars.
AEW.
Yep. Pretty much.
Counter programming. Actually, no.
And
October. AEW wouldn't have been a thing until October of that year, and you're saying this was in September.
yeah, 2019, September 2019.
Yeah. Okay,
Wednesday Night Wars started October 2nd at the head.
well, there you go. Son of a bitch. Okay. What do you think NXT needs to do to get that extra little boost that they're clearly missing?
Well, this is where NXT was in that conundrum, because NXT initially, remember, was supposed to be developmental. Totally developmental. But then you got these headliners coming in like Finn Balor, Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Adam Cole, Keith Lee. I mean, Asuka, Io, shit. You had all these heavy hitters of indie talent coming in, and it really wasn't development. It was just adjustment. The Bobby Roodes, I mean, I could keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Viking Raiders. NXT, even though we all knew it was developmental, to be quite honest, when those guys were there, it was just more adapting the WWE style.
Right.
Than actually developmental. So that's where it kind of threw off. And then they were like, well, we eventually got to get, and that kind of hurt the talent that was underneath them, right? Because they weren't going to get no shine with Nakamura out there beating ass. I mean, Apollo Crews, Uha, Joe. I mean, they were, you see what I'm saying?
I wouldn't necessarily put Apollo Crews in that category, but okay.
Hey, sir. I mean, when he signed, it was a big deal. I'm not gonna say.
And
I'm not gonna say
happened.
it didn't pan out, but I'm just saying, Aleister Black.
They got away with murder with that one.
You see what I'm saying? Gargano, Ciampa. These guys were not really They weren't there to develop to become WWE superstars. They were there just to be. Okay, this is how it's different than the indie scene. Yeah. And now they put, and when they did NXT 2.0, that's when they did a full on let's get them developed. Let's stick with developing the talent. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
and sprinkle in some of those names, like a Carmelo Hayes, a Swerve. Shit. I mean, you could just think of names that came through there. So that's what I'm trying to say. It was so now they're trying to do it the way. Okay, let's develop those guys and have those guys work with those talents, i.e., the women's division. Like Roxanne Perez is literally head and shoulders above everybody. Let's bring in some good ass names that are going to be there just to adapt to WWE styling, and also pulling the women who aren't there yet there.
Right.
Because it makes no sense that JC Jane is still in NXT.
I mean, other than she really hasn't done anything since being in Toxic Attraction.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? Her Gigi.
What would Gigi do for
Lola needs some work. I'm not saying that they're not good. I'm just saying, like...
Lola needs to be on the main roster right now. Lola don't lie.
Really?
Yes. I love myself
Really?
some Lola Vice.
I mean, I watched her at MMA, so I know she's got it in her. I just,
And I get what you're coming from. It's as good. NXT has some good talent. There's no doubt about it. But NXT doesn't necessarily have a cult of personality, in the manner of speaking. Now, nobody that is people are putting their money down to see because he's only exclusive NXT. Ironically, the only person that has that cult of personality that's a part of NXT doesn't even work for NXT, and Joe Henry. So
that is true.
When your biggest star on your show doesn't even go there, that's problematic.
You don't even go there. I mean, it is, but that also delves into the problem where they got these guys and they're trying to build them, but it's just not connecting. So they got to bring in those kind of dudes to face people like that, to give, you know what I'm saying, to prop them up. Because, I mean, prime example, I'm just going to go with it and keep it a stack. I will say Trick Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great entrance, great fucking song. It's dope as shit. After the Mello feud, he kind of dovetailed a bit, especially considering the fact that Ethan Page came and took the title,
and they
then he didn't get the rematch because he had to deal with Pete Dunne, and they were trying to go the long route of like making him go through the alternate route, the alternate hero's journey of making him that person to be likable, right?
Right.
Now, they gave him, he just got the title on CW because they're trying to push an edge on the hip hop scene. And he's good and he's a big deal. But like we also say, he's just not as a big a deal as a Joe Hendry. Because it just, I don't know.
And I'm not crapping on Trick at all.
Yeah, we're not crapping on Trick. We're just using that as an analogy.
But
we love Trick.
There's just something that's missing. And I don't know what that is when it comes to him. Like, I'm not going to take him off my TV if he comes on, but I'm not necessarily seeking him out either, if that kind of makes sense.
I think NXT, when it first came out, it was a cult hole in the wall. Because keep in mind, it was a lightning in a bottle to get away from. It was something WWE had to get away from WWE.
Right.
If that makes sense. Because you'd be like, oh shit, I'm sick of fucking tired of Raw because it's not going. NXT, I knew I mean, there were points I was watching NXT more than Raw. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
No, you're absolutely right about that.
Like, because NXT had that storytelling. So now, but keep in mind, Triple H was the person that did it. So now he's elevated. So now NXT is kind of
taking
in
that
this. Exactly. So, and he's trying to push his tentacles down there. It's just that they need to kind of go back to that. Because keep in mind, remember, NXT used to have like just the ring on lighting, no crowd.
Yeah.
It was no crowd, just the ring, all in black, and just focusing on the action.
They need
but
some...
I think we got focused on. Now it's at a point where it's focusing on reaction from the crowd, vice action in the ring. And I'm not saying that could be. I mean, because every time you see, like, let's find an example, Joe Hendry came out, they're more panning than actually focusing on the wrestler. If that makes sense.
Yeah. They need, you need somebody kind of established to be the base of your company. And, obviously they're going with Tripp, and that's fine. But he's not drawing what they need him to draw. I'm definitely not comparing him to these guys, but, when you think SmackDown right now, you think Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And when you think Raw, you think Seth Rollins, Judgment Day, Low-key, Rhea Ripley. So, when you think NXT, what do you think right now? You know what I mean?
Roxanne Perez.
Okay, so just Roxanne Perez. Just 2 hours of Roxanne Perez then.
I'm just telling you. I get what you're saying. To me, I think they don't care about that part. I think they care more about trying to get these guys ready when they get to the main roster and they'll get lost in the sauce. Because at this point, they had a couple people that had gotten lost in the sauce when they got up on the roster.
And that's completely fine. But when you're selling tickets to an event, you need something for the people to want to buy a ticket for. They
don't want to go for Chase U? Thea Hale? No.
I mean, yeah.
I like Thea. She.
I do too. But like, they're selling tickets now. We talked, I believe it was last week, where they couldn't sell enough tickets in Missouri to get people to come. That's problematic when you're trying to be a touring event. So,
but they never been a touring event. That's the thing. They're just starting this.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, the only time they actually toured were PLEs and house shows.
Yeah.
And even then, their main. Remember, they used to have those just 4 big events. And it would always happen when WWE had their big 4. So it's a changing scale.
Right.
So, is it a problem that NXT is not selling tickets on tour? Yes. And this is the first time they're actually trying to go on tour with it.
Right.
Because every tour that they had was house shows.
Right.
It wasn't like they were doing TV shows every week. Because they would do the house tour, they would do the house circuit, go back to Full Sail, and then go right back out and do the circuit again.
Right.
So I think a little grace. Now, if it's been 3-4 months, we can have that. I think that discussion is very warranted.
I agree. But you want to sell tickets? You want to break 1 million views? Nikita Lyons just made her in-ring return. Cora Jade just made a return. I mean, there you go. A million views. Cora Jade versus Nikita Lyons. Don't think anybody would not want to tune in to see that. All joking aside, partially joking. Uh, Monday Night Raw happened. I don't know why it wouldn't have happened on Monday. Bronson Reed wrestled Braun Strowman in a last man standing match, which resulted in ending with a ring break that didn't necessarily break the ring, and the return of Seth Rollins. I remember seeing the first ring break between Brock Lesnar and Big Show live, and even as a child, saying, "Holy shit, that's fucking awesome." This was so predictable and not as memorable as it was. I get what they're doing, but it just, you could have did something different. You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I get it. I get what our people's frustration is with it, but I'm thinking, what would have been different? What is the alternative? I always ask people, what's the alternative?
I'll give you an
So
alternative.
what would have been your alternative?
Instead of them breaking the ring, it's been quite a while since we've seen somebody go through the ring. Have them go same spot, but instead of breaking the ring, they go right straight through the ring.
Like a choke slam through hell type thing?
Yeah, something like that. But, if you're expecting them to break the ring and then they go through the ring, that's a swerve that would be appreciated. You know what I mean?
I think the only thing that would have, but then again, he already did it. Braun Breaker slammed Ricochet through a goddamn Toyota Prius, for crying out loud. I mean,
Bronson jumped on Braun through a car, too.
To a car. So that's what I'm saying. What like I'm saying, you see what I'm saying? So I'm saying the extreme parts were already done before. So I mean, that's the only thing they had left. Now, if they had did it in reverse, I think it would have been a different story. Because the last man standing match with a guy splashing a motherfucker through a car would be like, oh shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they should have just inversed it a bit. But then again, they had Braun Strowman literally hitting this dude with a human being. So I'm just saying, like, it was he hit a motherfucker with another motherfucker. I'm just saying, you can't, like, they threw everything at it, bro. Like,
I think what we're saying is
did
they
everything
kind of
to
blew
make
their
this
load
like
before
Kong
they even
and
got to the match.
Godzilla. Like, shit. Everything was done to make this like King Kong versus Godzilla. Just saying.
Yeah.
But Seth coming back is a good welcome.
Oh yeah.
And I told you, I mean,
that was definitely the pop moment, was Seth returning to get his comeuppance. Not getting their comeuppance at the moment is Ilja Dragunov. He tore his ACL at a house show, ironically enough against Gunter. And he will be out from 6 to 9 months. Honestly, this really sucks for Ilja because they were low-key building this guy to be something, and as of right now, it looks like he's missing WrestleMania, no?
Unless they find a way to put him in. I mean, I don't see him doing anything physically, but his return looks like what, May? Because this is about the same time Seth tore his ACL the first time. So yeah, I say roughly about May. I say May. So he's missing Mania for sure. Well, now that Mania's in April, it might.
I mean,
Late April.
depend,
It's late, like mid-April and early.
depending on when he gets surgery and how his body heals. I mean, it could be 6 months or it could be 9 months. We kind of don't know. And
Yeah, hope.
you would definitely be pushing it at the 6 month mark. It would literally be right up against, considering that Mania, it like you said, is in late April. I mean,
Yeah, but even then, it would be like, what would you put him back on?
I think they were doing. Wasn't they doing Judgment Day and Dragunov?
I'm just saying, like, what, like, even if he came back, because at this point, the Judgment Day thing is kind of going to move on without him.
Right. No doubt. I mean, you could still maybe do a Finn Balor Dragunov match, if it's depending on where they are, but, there's definitely a lot of question marks with that. But
I mean, speedy recovery. That's all we can say. Hope he gets it back, but yeah, it's gonna pass him by. Maybe he comes back as a surprise to help somebody. That could be the case.
maybe. Alright, well, from somebody, missing action to somebody possibly returning to action. Peyton Royce of the Iconics. Not saying that she's making a return, but, according to Sean Spears, she definitely misses pro wrestling and would like to make a comeback if the timing was right. I wouldn't be against it. I'd be happy to see her. But I don't really see Peyton Royce making a big impact without Billy Kay. Or am I completely wrong about that?
You're right. No Iconics, nada. It's like Voltron, the some of his parts.
She's the right leg.
Yes, she is the right leg.
If I'm being completely honest, if one of them came back, I would want it to be Billy, because when they were separate, Billy made chicken salad out of chicken shit with her whole resume thing, and people were low key getting behind that at that time. And then they just kind of fired her, which is kind of sad. And it kind of seems like Chelsea Green has taken that spot as of recently with what she's doing. But I don't know, Billy Kay and Chelsea Green, that would actually be pretty sweet if I'm being honest.
It would be. I mean, although I think Chelsea's trying to get a little bit more on that serious side, but we'll see.
Okay, the whole last segment was training for a dumpster match by joining garbage truck people. There is nothing serious about Chelsea Green right now.
I mean, hey, she's serious in what she's trying to do. Okay,
I could get behind that for sure.
She's fully committed. Whole ass everything.
Yes. We're going from whole ass to half ass. Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona has said that he's done literally everything there is to do on the independents. The only thing to do is to make a return to WWE or AEW. Um, he did not lie. Neither company has shown any interest in him at this time. Sounds about right, right? About right.
3 years ago? I mean, 2 years ago? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Today, 2024.
2024, it's a tougher sell. If he gets that 2019, that well, not even 2019, that 2022 drive back, shit.
Yeah.
Because at one point that dude was like fucking. I mean, remember he had his internet champion, the TNA digital champion, the NWA champion. I mean, that motherfucker was
I mean, that's not
all over the
saying a lot.
place. GCW champion, like that dude.
Okay, you could say that, but Danhausen was GCW champion. You can say NWA champion, but Brodus Clay was NWA champion. You see where I'm kind of getting at this?
But my point is, at one point he was the hottest guy in the NDC.
I guess so.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it was like a year stretch, but he had a good, I would say, 3 month stretch, 4 month stretch.
I think and I mean, the more sense would be WWE because obviously Chelsea Green is, employed by WWE. But the problem with Matt is he wants to be the guy, not just a guy. And I don't see WWE ever considering him to be the guy when they have multiple guys right now that can fill that position.
While that is true, I don't think he would want to come back as Zack Ryder anyway.
I mean, it's not that he has to be Zack Ryder. I mean, Ty Dillinger was Shawn Spears, and now he's Shawn Spears in WWE. So, I mean, it's not, out of the realm of possibilities.
Okay, yeah, I can see your point there. But I don't even think he would want to be the guy. I think he would want to, like you said, he probably would want to be the guy because he's proven that he can be the guy everywhere else.
On a small
except
scale.
that. But that's a self goal that most people want to be. It's like being the champion everywhere, but does it really count if it's not in the UFC type deal?
Right.
I mean, a champion is a champion, but there's levels to it. There's a difference between an NCAA champion versus a NBA champion. There's a difference between being a TNA champion than a WWE champion. But even then, he was a WWE champion. He wasn't the WWE champion.
Correct. I mean, the only qualifications for being a TNA champion is that you worked for WWE 6 months prior.
I mean, shit. Naomi, Nick Nemeth, Eric Young, Samoa Joe. Shall I continue?
I don't think you need to. I think we covered all the bases there.
Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, R-Truth, for fucking crying out loud.
That's right. K-Quick.
K-Quick, baby.
Oh. We're going going from a guy to the guy, Walter will be defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Sami Zayn next week on Raw. Which, if I'm being completely honest, kind of turns me off of this title run. Why would you have a World Heavyweight champion defend your title on a random episode of Raw when you can defend it on pay-per-view? I'm not saying that it had to be bad blood. They could have extended this rivalry to Survivor Series, but why just give it away on a random Raw?
To give the mystique that anything can happen on Raw, especially considering the fact that they're coming off fresh off the fact that Jey Uso beat Braun Breaker, and people really didn't think that was going to happen.
True. I agree with that.
So I don't think it's more the element of surprise that it could happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think a lot of people think it's gonna happen, but considering the fact that they're coming fresh off the fact that Jay did it, it's like the casual fan could be like, oh shit, it could happen. Because when Jay did it, everybody was fucking over the moon. So now people are like, oh shit, I don't want to miss the next one.
Which can absolutely boost ratings and ticket sales.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, one of the reasons that I saw online was that Bad Blood is already sold out. It has been for quite some time.
Oh, yeah, no shit. Man, I was trying to get them tickets to Atlanta. They said, them prices said, fuck you.
But, Raw and SmackDown, as well as they're doing on, ticket sales, it's still, you get that little extra boost to sell out the show. Which I completely understand. But, when you're trying to make a championship prestigious and get the guy over as champion, I don't think that's the way you do it. I mean, it's okay for like the Intercontinental Championship, but the World Championship, when was the last time Roman Reigns defended the World Championship on a random episode of SmackDown?
Against Riddle.
That wasn't on Raw, on SmackDown.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
That was definitely 100% on SmackDown.
Oh. Okay then. Well, that just destroyed me.
That was definitely on SmackDown. That was definitely on TV. But that's the point. But it's also in order because keep in mind, I think as much as Gunter's been dominant, he's never really been as active in his matches as far as volume. So this gives people a chance to see what the fuss about him being champion is. And it gives him that prestige point, which it also can sell into his persona, which it always does, even when it did with the Intercontinental title. I don't give a fuck where I'm defending this title. I am better than anybody here. And it's not a fact of whether I deserve it. It's a fact that I am the fucking man.
Alright. I could get behind that.
And that's the angle he's been taking the whole time. all this shit talking to all these legends and telling people that they're pathetic and this is where they fucked up in their life. He's basically trying to be like a Austrian Dr. Phil up in this bitch.
And that will be the name of this episode. Oh, let's shift gears and then get back on track before we get out of here. The Vince McMahon documentary. It's been on Netflix for quite some time now. It was still pretty fresh last week. I was still maybe like a couple episodes in before we did the last episode. So couldn't necessarily just talk about a couple episodes. Wanted to talk about the whole thing as a whole. Kaliko, have you watched it?
I'm too busy telling kids, hell no, they can't get a book. It's like, but I am going to get to it this weekend. I will be making it an appointment TV because I've been hearing reviews about it. Because there are some people saying it's nothing no different than what I've already known. There's people that saying, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I want it to be the consensus of my own conclusion.
Okay. Well, I could definitely agree with some of that. You know, it's not necessarily anything that we don't already know about Vince McMahon. I don't necessarily feel, some people were saying like it's a hit piece, you know, they trash him where they can. Could they have been a little bit more favorable towards him? Maybe. But in the interviews that they did with him, and keep in mind these interviews were done in 2021, he didn't necessarily do himself any favors with the comments he made on the things that they talked about. You know, a lot of what he said can easily be, you know, defunct. You know, a fact checked quite easily.
True.
We didn't necessarily get the biggest problem, I would say, was that we didn't necessarily get a view on the human being. You know, what is he outside of pro wrestling like? What is his relationship with, you know, his kids? What's his relationship with Linda? I mean, they kind of touch on it, but they don't necessarily go that in depth with it. The most that we get is his relationship with Shane. And low-key, Shane looks like a hero in this documentary. Really great guy. The one thing that I found very educational was that we don't get a full view of his childhood, but you do get a better picture of what his childhood was, and why he is kind of the way he is. And Paul Heyman pretty much, nobody was more on par with how Vince McMahon thinks and reacts better than Paul Heyman. Like, he hit the nail on the head every single time. Just for his comments alone was worth watching the whole docu-series. I thought it was done well, but like I said, it wasn't information that wasn't already out there that pro wrestling fans didn't already know. But I don't necessarily think that it was for, you know, pro wrestling fans per se. It was more for casual people that were just watching Netflix. You know,
That were into the docuseries trend.
yeah, like, I mean, when you see, you know, from the producers of, Tiger King, you know, that's immediately going to draw interest on what is this all about.
Oh yeah, Okay.
So
They did that?
yeah.
The fucking Tiger niggas did that?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Didn't know that.
I think considering what they were given at that time, I think that they did a really good job with it. It definitely wasn't, the 9 Lives of Vince McMahon, which was just a straight up hit piece. They tried to make the guy look favorable, but keep in mind that he wasn't necessarily making himself look favorable in the process. And even the producer said, the director, it was really hard for him to get content out of Vince. He wasn't giving him, straight answers, and he did the best he could with what he was given. That being said, Vince McMahon did try and buy the documentary off of them because he didn't feel like it showed him in the most favorable light. I mean, why would it? I mean, he's literally in a sex scandal, allegation lawsuit thing right now. So, yeah. But there was rumor and innuendo that Vince McMahon is making a response piece to the documentary. What that could honestly be, I have no idea. I can't imagine that it would be completely fabricated at this point. But what are your thoughts on that if it actually comes to tuition? A response piece.
I mean, I've never seen a rebuttal to a document. It's like, what, a documentary debate? Is that what we're doing? I mean, Jesus. I mean, my thing is, if all of that is the case, my biggest question is that considering that whole lawsuit came out, did that cause a lot of this stuff to be edited? And that's something I would really think, because I would think this documentary was recorded 2-3 years ago, not
in 2021. Vince McMahon sat down to record 100 hours of interview time with the director.
Right. So keep in mind, 3 years later, we read an affidavit about him defecating on people.
Right.
So I'm just saying. I don't know, between him and Diddy, they trying.
Well, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, you're the one that read the document, but all of that was going on with Janelle when he was doing this documentary.
That's the bigger point. So
yeah. He
dude,
may have freshly defecated on her before he came in to do that interview.
Yes, he was probably assaulting that girl before he even did the documentary. But then again, I mean, I always look at these things like these documentaries aren't meant to me, I think it's just showing that, and I could be wrong in this, he's trying to make it seem like, he did all this for wrestling. There's no one person that does all this and have a bunch of people that love him unconditionally throughout this whole process. Because he had to be rude, and he had to be the top guy. You got to be rude and crass and step on motherfuckers to get there. I mean, we hate those type of guys, but those are the ones that end up on top. And Vince has always been, I could see him being this surly competitor. I mean, for crying out loud, this motherfucker got fired 3 times from his own company and came back every time.
And
let's keep Keep that in mind. They literally tried to do him like he is literally the walking character in Succession.
And quite possibly a fourth time if we have you know a crystal ball in front of us. But you hit it on the nail, the head. He he isn't he says in the documentary he doesn't he doesn't fight fair. He cheats and he wins. And as long as you win, it justifies the means.
Right. And he seems the person to be that way. I mean, by any means necessary, because in his mind, the victor is remembered and context dies away.
Right.
But the problem is that he probably the era, the way that he did it does not compute with the era that we're in.
Right.
And that's
That might be the most true statement of all of this. That the old Wild West of pro wrestling doesn't translate to today. I think that was even said in the documentary. If you were behind the scenes in WWE in the 80s, you would probably say that these are the worst human beings in the world. Somebody actually said that.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, because the '80s were the Wild Wild West. Because keep in mind, you didn't have the internet, and hell, you barely had security cameras in the '80s.
True.
Everything was hearsay. Everything in the '80s is hearsay. If it wasn't for the fact that we had podcasts like Something to Wrestle With, Dark Side of the Ring, and so on and so forth, we wouldn't have known half this shit even happened.
And even with those things, we still don't even know a quarter of what actually happened.
Yeah, we only know 10% of what they allow us to know.
Exactly what they're willing to share. So yeah, I would, when you do actually watch it, I would like to have a dialogue on your thoughts on it for sure. Hopefully next week on the show.
Okay, maybe I'll do it your way with the how you did AEW.
Um, Our last bit of news. Bad Blood is literally hours away as of this recording. Um, and it was reported, rumor and innuendoed that Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes will main event, and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre will open up the show. It is heavily rumored and implied that The Rock will be, in some shape, way, or form, a part of the event. Which obviously was the determining factor as to what went on last on this show. What are your thoughts about Roman and Cody main eventing against Jacob and Solo? And what are your thoughts on The Rock possibly being involved in some way?
I mean, you know The Rock. If it ain't the main event, he ain't doing it.
Yeah.
He ain't doing that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that part. Secondly, I have no problem with it because of the simple fact that one, Atlanta is Cody's hometown, and B, Roman Reigns played in Georgia Tech in Atlanta. That's how I knew that they were going to main event. They did a segment on the field of Georgia Tech. Do you know that was two more people that ever been on that field at Georgia Tech? Just saying. So,
okay, before we get into you say what you're gonna say, could they have sold out a Georgia Tech stadium for this event, considering what they have on this card?
No, that's a push. Because, I mean, they could have. Because this is Roman's first match back since Mania. They could have done the Dome. But I also think having it in that small arena, because there are, when I say loads of people in there right now getting ready for Bad Blood.
It is very
This
much
is the
sold
most
out.
exciting. This is the most generated excitement for a PL. Oh, fuck it, a pay-per-view. Fuck a PLE. This is the most fucking generated excitement for a pay-per-view not being the big five since, well, shit, I can't even tell you. I couldn't tell you. Probably like the Attitude Era? Like for something that is a basic pay-per-view, but it is not a big four. And everybody's like, I have to be there.
Well, one of them I would say would have been Money in the Bank and
I'm saying not that. Not a Money in the Bank. Not a...
well, I mean,
Because Money in the Bank sells itself.
CM Punk and John Cena at Money in the Bank. A couple.
Oh, that... I mean... but even then, it was Money in the Bank. But I get your point. Yeah, the sentiment. The fact that you had to be there. But yeah, CM Punk... Yeah, probably CM Punk, John Cena. And that was before Money in the Big Bank became the thing that it is now. So yeah, you might be right. But 2011?
Yeah. Yeah, 2011.
The most must-see match of a pay-per-view not being that since 2011 says a lot.
I mean, maybe.
And plus you don't want 60,000 people saying I was there. It's better when it's like 19,000. Feels more exclusive.
I guess so.
It is. It generally is.
I mean, it's not. I don't think the exclusivity is a thing. They care about the exclusivity. I think they care about how much money they have in their pockets at the end of the day.
I mean, if that was the case, they would have just changed it the moment it sold out.
I mean, then that would maybe spark some controversy. Like, we paid for X amount of tickets and then you changed it on us.
But then again, I think it's what it says, State Farm Arena, which State Farm Arena is downtown Atlanta, not that far from where Omni used to be. So it's context, downtown Atlanta. Omni, Georgia Tech's downtown Atlanta, a little bit north of Atlanta, north of downtown Atlanta. So it context is key.
Well, back to your point about The Rock and Roman and Cody main eventing, The Rock potentially coming back.
Oh yeah, dude, he would not come back. He ain't coming back unless his ass was in the main event. But it also makes sense for him to be there because that's what sells Survivor Series. So if he is coming back, you're gonna want those 4 weeks to be heavily involved.
But counterpoint, what if he doesn't show up?
He'll show up.
But
He'll show up.
Just being devil's advocate here, what if he doesn't?
I mean, even if he doesn't, the story in itself with Fatu and them warrants it, no?
I mean, yeah, but I don't think we have any argument that, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre was the hottest rivalry this year. And
It was.
for them not to main event in Hell in a Cell, I kind of feel like that's kind of cheating them out of, their moment.
Well, the only way they wouldn't get the main event is if Dwayne came in and said something.
Right.
Because I wouldn't think Triple H would be like, yeah. I could see this as Triple H going, yeah, it's above me, bro.
Right, true. So basically, if they are main eventing, then The Rock is more than surely coming. And if they're not, then he isn't.
He would have to, because the whole point of this is that Roman is teaming up with Cody. And remember, the last time we saw The Rock, he pinned Cody and was beating his ass like Django. So, I mean, that means something.
Alright, so let's say, okay, The Rock, The Rock makes a return. What does he do on this show?
That's an interesting point. Now, who says he has to come back and interfere in the match?
I mean,
He could just come out and be disappointed in Roman even teaming with him. He could just show up before the match and be like, I'm disappointed in you teaming with him. He could just come back and plant that seed. Doesn't necessarily have to be a physical altercation.
I could see that. But you kind of see him siding with Solo rather than Roman.
If they're trying to get Roman, if they're going Roman Cody, either way, Cody's catching that smoke. Now that we just gonna keep it tall. Cody is the Sami Zayn in this bitch. You ain't got no business being up in here in this family business, and we about to show you. So either Roman, because the thing is this, Cody's already catching hell from Randy and them because of the fact that he even teaming with the motherfucker. Because, he's the honorable guy.
And you have to imagine there's going to be some beef between Owens and Cody. They're heavily implying that there's going to be another match between Cody and Owens.
There should be, because Rogue, in KO's perspective, he's looking like, why didn't you pick me?
Right.
Why did you throw... One, why? We went through hell to help you in the first place. Why did you throw yourself back into this shit?
Right.
That in itself is the angle. Damn, I should work for WWE.
If The Rock, let's really get into this now. If The Rock...
Yeah, let's go.
If The Rock helps Roman Reigns, because, he is the original tribal chief, yada yada, The Rock is very much a heel right now, with the whole final boss shit. Wouldn't that make him immediately a face because he helped one of the most over guys in the company right now with Roman Reigns?
Well, I don't think he's going to help Roman. I just think here's my thing. I think, and this is where it comes into the honor thing. I mean, I could totally see Rock coming out there to beat the brakes off of Cody, and Roman just being a man of his word backing Cody.
Ooh, okay. I could, that works.
Because remember, in the segment, he said, "What do you want from me? I just want your word."
That's right.
That you will have my back.
Right. So it wouldn't necessarily be bloodline business when The Rock comes. It's The Rock settling a score with Cody, and it becoming bloodline business because Roman gave his word that he would that he would have Cody's back.
Because a man is only as good as his word.
Okay.
See, it's deeper than most people think.
And
it can go there.
And that would definitely rub Rock the wrong way. And okay, so
therefore causing the war games in which the beef between Kevin and Cody gets deeper because now Cody's going back playing in traffic and Kevin Owens is reluctantly telling him, keep your ass out of traffic. Maybe KO beat turning on Cody at War Games because he kept playing in traffic. You see, it's a domino effect.
With that perspective, then you have KO and Roman on the same team. No?
Well, they're gonna be, but it's not gonna be because KO, because he easily be doing it to think he can help. He's helping his friend, but his hatred for Roman is so deep, and Cody trying to be the person fending Roman more so than KO, that KO breaks.
Right.
Because keep in mind, he's like Cody's putting his neck out for him in a lot of ways.
Yeah. You know, I was under the impression that we would get Bloodline versus Bloodline. And I'm still kind of under that impression.
It's going to get there, but it doesn't have to be directly there because keep in mind, I mean, everybody wants the bloodline, but their shit, you got to think, they were fucking tearing everybody's ass up for 5 years. You don't think they got 5 years worth of enemies who are like, what the fuck?
Right.
And then you got Cody trying to be Mr. Peacemaker, and everybody's like, bitch, fuck Roman. We helped you defeat this fool, and why the fuck are you here? You see what I'm saying?
Right. But it's like
finally conquering the kingdom, and the king is trying to show mercy to the enemy who's been killing all of his people, and everybody's like, why the fuck are you doing that?
Yeah. But with the logic that we're in right now, then you have Rock teaming up with Solo, the Tungans, and Jacob. No. And we are trying to get Kaliko back. Hopefully in 3, 2, 1. And I have respawned.
There he is.
So
thought that was me.
I thought it was you too. So with that logic, The Rock is teaming with Solo and the Tungans, and Roman is teaming with KO and Randy Orton.
Well, KO's not really teaming with anybody. I mean, not KO, but Roman is not teaming with anybody because in his mind, it's his business.
Right.
Everyone else is just jumping in his business. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's not like Roman is not running around begging people to help him.
No. And
Cody has threw himself in there to help him. That's two totally different scenarios. And KO is like, why the fuck are you throwing yourself in there to help him? Same with Randy.
To a lesser degree, yes, but it's
So
more.
so that's the point they're making. They're and and keep in mind WrestleMania 40, who was out there celebrating with them. Da, 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 da. So that's why it's a callback. All of it calls back.
So
We helped you slaying this hero. We were there celebrating you and you slain this guy. And now you're sitting up here trying to help him get something back that we didn't want him to have in the first place.
let's go a little deeper about this. You're starting a beef between Rock and Roman that is more interesting than what they had maybe a year prior. Do you go Rock Roman night one of WrestleMania and the winner wrestles Cody Rhodes on night two?
Well, the question is, that could be a thing, but my problem is with that is what's stopping Rock from just putting himself in both events? I'll take both of you bitches on. You see what I'm saying?
Well then I could see them trying to do something that's logical in the sense of, oh well, Triple H says you can't because there was some beef between the Triple H and The Rock as well. So.
Oh no, that ain't that ain't happening.
I mean, look at it this way: the Young Bucks tried to flex their authority, and for some apparent reason, Christopher Daniels is below them, but is allowed to undermine them.
Well, that could be true, but I don't see Rock playing that way.
I mean, I think it would be
Just
it would make more logical sense if The Rock wrestled Roman the first night and then the second night went on to wrestle Cody, because we know The Rock don't lose twice. You know what I mean? Hmm?
said he's
You keep breaking up. Could you say that one more time?
so he's doing the 50-50 route with
Yeah,
what's our guy?
Zack Sabre.
What? Zack Sabre. He's doing the Zack Sabre 50-50 route.
More or less. But
It could, but my thing is, the thing, only question. I mean, yeah, there's so many avenues to take it with because Rock and Cody already had that beef the night after WrestleMania. See, that's why I don't see him coming to help Roman.
right. And Roman kind of gets in the mix where he's like, I want that spot, and you cost me.
It's not even I want that spot. It's just more of I'm a man of my word, and I said I would have his back this night, but this night only, which drags on because The Rock takes it personal.
And completely psychoanalyzing this, if The Rock teams with Solo for Jacob and the Tungans at Survivor Series, would that be? Where does Hikuleo come in? Is he does Roman Reigns brings in Hikuleo to be the good Tungan brother?
Nah, because everybody's yelling that he's coming. Because remember, all y'all want everybody to come home, so it would defeat the purpose. Y'all want the boys and the men to get back together, but y'all want a new Avenger in the mix, and it's like that can't happen. Like y'all want the old Avengers, but let's add in this new Avenger. No, it's either they all assemble as old or none of it at all.
I could get that.
Which ain't gonna happen. I mean, Jay living his best life right now. Yeet.
And what a way to bring him back down to reality than have Roman Reigns come back and say, yeah, you're living large because I made you live large. I made you main
Nope.
event.
Mm.
I'm the guy that got you that title. And it's
Nah.
time you do something for me.
Nah.
Roman is the master. Roman is a master manipulator.
Now, but the problem is that works on Jimmy, doesn't work on Jay. The only way Jay comes back in the fray is if Jimmy is fucking getting destroyed. That's the only way he gets back in the fray. And even then he might not, because keep in mind, it's him helping his brother fight his other brother. So it's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. It's all fucked up. Do you see my point?
Yeah.
So he's on the not my monkeys, not my circus.
And with that, I think that will conclude this episode. That will conclude the news and the episode. Join us next week as we do a full review of Bad Blood and whatever comes out of it, and a preview of AEW Wrestle Dream. God help us all. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us this Tuesday as we interview Billy and Aki, and this Wednesday as we interview Kuya Born. And follow the show at Wrestling with Eborn on Xdread and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Where can we find Kaliko?
I mean, you can keep us psychoanalyzing and overthinking this shit, and I am Kalik. Honestly, that's a good dialogue, because everybody keeps thinking it. I think this was a productive episode to break into the psychoanalysis of it all, because it's not as straightforward as most people seem.
You know, it used to be.
And to the casual fan, it seems that straight. Huh?
It used to be. We used to have, like, at this point in time, we would have a clear view of what WrestleMania would be looking like right now. And it's pretty all up in the air.
And that's the point. And that's the best that it could be, because the problem is that that's the beauty of it. It could go 1,000 ways. Because what we talked about could be like a whole alternate universe and go the opposite way.
Very true.
But I'm looking at it from because when I'm looking at this wrestling shit, and before we close, I'm looking at it from a human perspective, like a warrior's tale perspective, and it's easy for me to like dissect this in that way. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But I think in this case, either way, Cody getting his ass beat in Atlanta. I'm just like, white dude getting his ass beaten at Black City. I'm just letting you know right now.
After he emancipated the blacks with that incredible speech on Dynamite?
Bro, he could be his hotel. He's invited to the cookout and everything. That ain't gonna change the fact that he about to get his ass beat. Whooped. May not lose the match, but he sure will take an ass whooping. Because who gonna be the high tag?
And with that, for Caligula Yachts and Scooter Dust, I'm James Shea, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Sorry, Cody, you getting your ass beat like Georgia did in Alabama.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show. Support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.